Hey, what's good, world? Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment clip. I'm the man here, Wood. A little bit more bite down boxing discussion. Speaking on this Canelo Alvarez and Sergey Kovalev video, or the first review that I did or breakdown that I did earlier. I did have a little bit extra to add on there. And this is kind of, I always appreciate any of the comments, the engagement, interaction, with anybody that's checking out any of the videos. So this would exclude my man Latoris Harrison from next door in the Hoosier State over I was in the Indianapolis area. So what's up, Latoris? Appreciate all of the support, interaction and all of that type of stuff. I appreciate that a lot. But I mentioned you because you've been watching some light heavyweights in action locally on your club shows in Indianapolis for a couple of years, with Anthony Sims Jr. being over there for some time, with Curtis Hill Jr. Is it Curtis? Is it Hill? But Curtis Jr. Hill Jr. And then as well as Malcolm. Damn, what's Malcolm's last name? Jones, who's been in camp with Artur Beterbiev at least on two occasions. Both of those guys are light heavyweights. But what I was wanted to add was people really have to consider how freaking big light heavyweight is in person. And I'm saying this because even if you go to a lot of club shows, you tend to see a lot of featherweights through it's a lot of featherweights through maybe welterweight. From what I'm going through to club shows from Indianapolis, Louisville, especially if bigger promoters or bigger managers aren't involved and sending their guys out to get this work. If it's just strictly local talent, again, a lot of times you're getting featherweights to maybe welterweights. Very rarely do you get up to super welterweight and above. And another thing, if you do see heavyweights or cruiserweights on a lot of these club shows, they're not in the best shape. Maybe the house fighter might be in decent shape. But a lot of times the bigger guys, they're not really Adonises walking around in there a lot of times. So what I'm just saying, if you haven't been out, so for me, and I've seen some guys at some club shows in Cincinnati because it's been a couple different promoters down there putting on shows the last few years. And honestly, they were bringing in guys from across the country, from across the Midwest, pretty regularly. And you actually had one guy down there who was a cruiserweight, who was going in between cruiserweight and heavyweight. So I had seen some guys in person, but to see a world class fighter, a world class light heavyweight in person. Last year when I went over to Chicago for the first DAZN card, that had Artur Beterbiev and Callum Johnson. These are the first two world-class light heavyweights that I saw in person. And just sitting in the media row area, or in the media area, those guys were they were big dudes. I mean, Beterbiev, and this is why listening to Canelo say, Beterbiev is not all unified. Light heavyweight champion Artur Beterbiev is not off the table. That's a big dude, man. I mean, Beterbiev is a big dude, man, and it's hard for me to fathom it. It just is. Callum Johnson was a big, wide dude. Now, a couple years earlier, maybe in 2016, I guess, I saw light heavyweight Marcus Brown and Thomas Williams, Top Dog. They were down there at the Broner Granado show. But Marcus Brown is a slender dude. I talked to him at the final press conference, and then again on fight night. I mean, he's a taller, slender, more athletic looking guy. He's not as bulky and wide, which was always going to be one of my concerns if he ever had got into the right position to go against some of the reigning champions. That remains to be seen at this point. But like I said, going back to and seeing Beterbiev and Callum Johnson, I haven't seen Sergey Kovalev in person, I don't believe. But in my opinion, Kovalev is more of one of the slender light heavyweights out there. So he's not bringing all of that mass, per se. But like I said, a guy going up from middleweight and from super welterweight for a while, from campaigning there, started at welterweight. It's some levels in that just in the size of these guys. So like I said, I'm just watching this, man. I'm kind of handcuffed in really saying what's what. And again, we go back to the Mikey Garcia situation. Obviously Canelo sees something in Kovalev. We know that he's older. We know about the wear and tear. We saw, the Crusher become, Sergey Kovalev again after the 2 fights with Ward. But as Latour's kind of talked through and commented on in the earlier video, Andre Ward doing what he was able to do and bully the bully in some respects is not necessarily what we could see out of the finesse, skill, and cerebral approach that we'll probably see from Saul Alvarez Saturday night. It's going to be a much different way to go about getting the same, hopefully in his case, getting the same results. It's going to be a different way to get there. So, but you've seen the guys at the weigh-in. You've seen them not at the weigh-in, but at the press conferences, the stare downs, whatever stuff is out there, maybe on DAZN. I really haven't watched a lot of their promotional stuff. The last couple of fights, I've just been too busy. But that's just what, like I said, man, when I see these two guys receiving the final instructions in the ring and they come out and get into their stances and start falling into their, their rhythm and whatnot, it's just that's when I'm really going to get an idea of what we're looking at. And, like I said, I'm a guy that tends to respect weight classes. I don't play too much fantasy matchmaking. This guy, that guy, and these 2 or 3 guys with Lomachenko, and here with Alvarez, trying to moving around 2 and 3 weight classes and weigh-in fights or considering mulling over fights, with guys spanning 2 or 3 weight divisions. I don't have time for that. So that's all I really wanted to come back on and was just to add that, man, depending on how that light heavyweight, that 175 pounds is constructed, it could be a big dude. These light heavyweights can be some big dudes. So again, that's kind of what I wanted to come back and touch on. Bite down boxing, don't let them count you out.